plan today is tackle why the bike won't calculate speed or mileage. It's because of this little guy right here, the wheel speed sensor. It works in conjunction with the ABS module up there to calculate speed, and right now it's just not working. So what I think is the problem is this one's actually cracked. See that? So this one's definitely broken. You can see where it's been grinding into the hub. I have a somewhat of a fix for that. And also while I'm here, I'm going to be changing out this for a purple one. And also there was something else I was going to be doing back here. But yeah, at this point, the wheel for the front has been sent off for repair. I got Mrs. Bicasso in the garage with me. Say hello. Hello. Yeah, she's back there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff situated, get the new parts on, and get this thing on the road and see if that fixes the problem. So this is the caliper bracket, wheel speed sensor for the rear mounts here. This is where it connects into the harness. This is the new bracket that I'm going to be putting all of this on. But the problem is also it is just not working. But you see that crack right there? I don't know if that cracked into the harness or the wiring, but it's not working. So you can see that right there. And also you can see where this is grinded into the I guess the plastic on the wiring. So maybe that's why it's not working. But I also ran into this issue on the Super Chief Limited when I put the Chieftain wheels on it, because the hubs are a little bit deeper than Chief. And what I ended up doing manually is actually shaving some of this down, because this is simply the plastic and not the wiring itself. So I may have to do that again on the new one. But luckily I have one right here on the shelf. It's been over here for months. So we're going to use this one. This one came off of Super Chief, the ABS. No, Super Chief, the white one. Yeah, it has ABS, but either way, we're gonna put this on the bike. Before I finish the wheel speed sensor stuff, let me show you this. So this is my, I think, Roadmaster wheel. It's been powder coated with the Avon 200 on it. You can see this is where the speed sensor was rubbing in the hub. But then this is an actual Chief standard wheel with that same bearing, but notice how high the bearing sits on the lip of the hub compared to that. Okay, now when I put the sensor in there, notice how high it sits, and notice the clearance of the wiring. A lot of clearance there. But then notice how deep it sits in here, and that's why it rubs. So what I did, this isn't the first time I've encountered this. When I did the Super Chief Limited, I actually shaved this down on purpose so this wouldn't rub, and also I lifted the bearing. I didn't knock it in as far. Now the downside to that is the spacer in here that interfaces with the inner race. It's not fully seated against the bearing, but that is to protect the bearing from, I guess, walking like sideways in some weird situations. So worst case, you blow out a bearing within, I guess, 15,000 miles versus the 30,000 that they'll probably last. But for me, I like knowing that I like these wheels, so I'm willing to deal with that. But honestly, I don't think it's gonna happen. But worst case, you blow out a bearing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this up right at that lip. I'm gonna measure this between from here to here and the clearance from here, and that's where we're gonna seat that bearing, and we should be fine. This is the bearing, got it out. Just apply a little bit of heat to the hub. This thing's actually still kind of warm. It took like all of, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds of heat. Heat it up, and I use the slide hammer. Rather than slide hammer it out, I put that on there. It grips the inner race, and then I take a hammer with a, where is it? With one of these. This tool is not meant for this, but it's totally been turned into this. Use this, hammer on that, some heat, pulls it out pretty instantly. So you can see the spacer here on the inside. Ideally though, you would make a longer one of these. Probably, I'm gonna say maybe, let's see, I'll probably say a good 10 millimeters. It needs to be right at 10 millimeters longer so it can contact the inner race. If I blow out a bearing, I'm not gonna cry about it. I'll just put another one in, and it'll be a learning experience for us all. So worst case scenario, the bearing, oh, it wants to just drop in. Because the hub is still hot. So I'm just gonna slightly hammer this in, and as I tap it in, I'm gonna measure how high I need this to be, and then I'm just gonna stop. And once it cools down, it's gonna hold that bearing in place, and we should be good. I actually used the sensor that I'm gonna put in here. See how I made that mark right there? that mark lets me know how far down I need to go. So if I go down too far, it's going to end up being a problem. So now, I think, yeah, almost there. So I'm still gonna have to shave off some of that right around in there. All right, so there's the bearing right there. Let's see. This is my sensor. You can see as it rotates, there's less chance of this coming in contact with that hub. You see that? That gap? That's why we make that cut. We just cut the plastic, so there's no exposed wires or nothing like that. So now, put this back on and should be good. But I got one more thing I want to do to this wheel. What we're about to find out now is if this wheel is actually trued. So you're gonna hear this spacer rattling around. At some point I'll probably take the bearings out, go ahead and get a new spacer made for it, and then put a new set of bearings in it. But honestly, I'm not gonna worry about it right now because I know it's gonna be fine. So, at least for a little while. Instead of getting maybe 20,000 miles out of my bearings, I'll probably only get, maybe 10,000. I don't know. Maybe, well, I don't know how long bearings last, 30 or 40,000. But I know how to get them out. Not that big of a deal. So, we go ahead and put this on here. This thing locked in. All right, moment of truth. Give it a spin. We look at the needle. See if it jumps in and out. That needle is not jumping in or out. I think this wheel might be straight. Also, there's that weight right there. I'll leave it, see what happens. And the wheel is going to the top. So it is definitely out of balance. Because like I said, one of these did fall off. When I had the wheel, had the tire put on, it just fell off. So the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a TPMS sensor on this wheel. Before I forget, seeing how this wheel is doing this, remember the front wheel is actually bent and I shipped it off to Arizona because it was not trued and basically it was causing wobbles in the front end. So the good news is that one's good to go. But what I am gonna do, I'm gonna put this TPMS sensor on, and the only way you can do that is to take the tire off of the wheel. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can monitor my pressure in rod command on the Chief. There's an option for it. We have the tool to do it. So let's get the Roboconda out and get this tire off of this wheel. Oh, my watch. All right, it's coming off. All right, and the tire's off. Set it to the side so we can put it back on right quick. But now, do this, that off, sit that here temporarily. Now I can put my TPMS sensor on my wheel. Before I put this on, let me show you how this works. So this is the TPMS sensor. It mounts right here on the wheel. It's 180 degrees out, so on the opposite side. Same thing for the Chief wheels, except you don't get these from factory, but you need this little device to actually activate this. It doesn't just show up in rod command. So we got the bike over here. I'm gonna go into here. Where it's gonna show up is right here. You're gonna have the rear and you're gonna have the front. I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna hit learn. I'm just gonna hit the button and it says success. So I don't have one for the rear, so we're just gonna have to roll with that as it is. But we should have this for the, so it's gonna show up for the rear, but it's actually for the front, but you can just always just reprogram it. But you need this little device. Yep, that does it. I put a little bit of Loctite on it because the last thing I want is for this thing to be knocking some boots while I'm riding. So it just goes in there like that. And she's done. So hopefully the next time I have to change this out is when I change the tires. So maybe 10,000 miles. When I have the tire off, I'll go ahead and buy a new one of these and we'll be good. So here's a slight confession. I actually forgot where the heaviest part of the wheel was, but I think somewhere right in here. So should be good. I'm pretty sure I got it though. I love Avons, man. Literally worked the first bead on with just my hands. It's just easier to use these tools. This is a drop center tool. Keeps the tire in drop center because you want the duck head behind it. And I think my tire should be about where I need it. There we go. Easy. Just pop it. We're done. Wipe all the excess off. Did not scratch the wheel. All right, 35 pounds of air. I think this one, well, not pounds, 35 PSI. This tire's good. Now, put my motor back. I'm gonna get each one of these bolts. They use red initially. I'm gonna just put a little bit of blue on here, just in case this bad boy has to come back off. All right, balance, and this thing can go back on, man. All smooth. We know that we got one weight right here, and I knew one weight essentially fell off. Not much has changed on this bike other than me, adding the TPMS sensor. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add one weight right here next to it, floating just a little bit. What happens is if it gets momentum, it's gonna do that anyway. This side, I think I'm just gonna tack that one and call it a day. Also, after I let this tire swing from the top for a bit, it ended up pretty much bottoming out right around, was that 9 o'clock? So, like I said, put one weight on there, slap it back together. With everything else done, before I put the tire back on, I'm actually gonna take this off, which is the upper belt guard. It's gonna block my sprocket and I don't want it to, and if something happens, guess what? Your boy know how to put it back on. There's one on the inside that's really hard to get to without taking the wheel off, and the one on the outside. I recommend it definitely doing if you already got the tire off to do it. So now, that's off. I'm gonna have a clear view of all of this pretty. So we got the wheel weight there. The black one lets me know that I did it. Powder coating of the sprocket now matches the wheel. Oh, this is gonna look so freaking good, man. Worth the work. Hopefully we don't have any issues with the belt slipping, but they powder coated the teeth as well. Should be fine though. Man, oh my God, look at that. That looks so freaking good. This line is barely hanging, so don't need to worry about that. I need to put this in here, a new piece, because this has my new, not only the sensors on here, but this is my new bracket to match the swing arm. Then I need to connect this down here, the wheel speed sensor. And then I gotta tuck this off in here. It's the part that either goes easy or goes really hard. So I gotta line up this wheel speed sensor with everything. Just gotta get it in like that. If I got my sprocket in far enough, this should go pretty easy. Like, stupid easy. And if I didn't, I'm gonna have a nightmare. Alright, get that on. Perfect. And we also gotta remember that powder coat also adds a little bit of a material which can mess with your tolerances too. But I think we got it. I think we got it. Let's see. Close. All right, just gotta put the locking piece on there and torque it down to get this belt set up. 65. Got my alignment and my belt set up. That didn't sound good. I'm gonna need to get a new spacer because I think I just broke this one again. I really think I just broke the wheel speed sensor because what's happening is as I'm torquing down with this axle, I didn't have to do this on the Super Chief, man. I might have broke it again. We'll see, but what's happening is it's pulling that bearing in more so it doesn't walk. If I broke it, it is what it is. Just like everything else, man. Trial by fire, lesson learned. And either way, we're gonna ride it, move forward. But yeah, I screwed that up. Okay, so update with the wheel on, everything. Still getting the issue. It's just straight up not working. We got this wheel spinning. It has a tone ring bearing and it's actually the other Chief wheel that I have. This is the old wheel speed sensor that I took off and we have it here. So check this out. When it locks in like that, it's actually reading the speed. So what does that tell me? It's not the sensor, it's the freaking bearing. So what I'm gonna do now is this straight up reading, just like that. It's reading. It's straight up reading it. I'm gonna take this wheel back off. We're gonna set it up like this, and we're gonna rule out whether or not it's the bearing. More likely, it's gonna be the bearing. And I got the one I want on there back off. So we're gonna spin this wheel of fortune. Look how that bearing has slotted right back down in there. That's what we were hearing when we were hearing that popping. Look how far that has to sit down in there. And of course, we are getting nothing. So I can't say that the bearing is bad, but what I can say is that this is going way too far in there for this thing to be read. So what I'm thinking about doing, I think I'm gonna pull this bearing and I'm gonna have a spacer made. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Stop being lazy, have the spacer made, because if not, I'm gonna continue to have problems with this. Propane slide hammer puller. Got the bearing back out. This is later on in the day. Took all of 5 minutes to do this. So you can see that bearing is a lot more close to the edge. So I'm gonna put that up there and we're gonna see if it actually reads. So we're gonna go like that. Spin this tire. I wanna make sure that this bearing's actually, no, dude, I think this bearing's bad. I'm not getting anything on the screen. This is straight up a bad bearing. All right, I'm gonna freaking go jump off of a cliff. This bike is confusing me, man. So it wasn't reading at all, right? Well, if the sensor is not already on the bearing, it's almost like it deactivates it on the bike completely, where it won't show anything unless you disconnect the sensor and reconnect it. Why? Watch this. It's not the bearing. Contact. It's reading it. This is with the original sensor and the original bearing. It's not the bearing, it's not the sensor. These things are pretty freaking stout. No speed. Speed. It works. So what I need to do is I need another spacer, man. I'm gonna snatch this bearing out tonight, go in CAD, design another spacer, and just be done with this. Ugh. Right, so here's what we got. Toner bearing. Those are the little notches that the speed sensor reads off of. The other side is regular. And here's my spacer. So I think, this spacer, it contacts the inner race like that on both sides. So what I need is for this spacer to be maybe about that much longer, which pushes the bearing out further so the wheel speed sensor doesn't have to go in so far to contact this thing. I'm gonna take a simple measurement, figure out what I need, put this in CAD, it'll be easy to make this thing, and then take it to my local fab shop, see if they'll make me one. So it's been a couple of days. I did exactly what I said I was gonna do. Took some measurements of this spacer that goes in the wheel. sits in there like that. And the bearing, the inner race, interfaces with that, okay? So when I took my measurements, made it in CAD, it came up with this. So I measured this out at 138.5 millimeters. Show you this, pull that out. It is that much longer than the other one. And it sits on the inner race exactly the same. So it sits in here just like this. You can see it's raised off of the hub, but that created a problem. Now the spacer is lifting the bearing up, right? But now the outer race of the bearing is now floating inside the hub, which is putting more pressure when you're torquing it down on the inner race. So I designed something else. This is a spacer. So what happens is this sits in here like that, and I made it the same width as, or I extended it up the same distance as this. So 8 millimeters, I extended this out and I made the width of this 8 millimeters. So now the inner race and the outer race are both supported. Took both of these to a fabrication shop. We have not only the spacer, which sits in there, the washer. It's just like that. So now they sit in there just like that. And you can see it's right at the height that it needs to be. So when this sits in here, it's being supported both on the inner and the outer race, and it should be at the right distance for this wheel speed sensor to sit in here. I was charged $45 for this spacer and this washer, which are both made of steel, because you're going to be torquing this down. If this is aluminum, it would crack. So now what I need to do is get me a little bit of a corrosion inhibitor, because you can see this thing is already oxidizing. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna slap this stuff in and it should work, hopefully. Got the washer with some black paint, and we got the spacer with some black paint. I'm gonna use white lithium grease. I'm gonna spray that down in the tube to prevent rust, or help with rust and corrosion, and also to lubricate. So once we put the axle down in there, it won't get bonded up. So let's put this in here and see what happens.
Yeah, everything fit, but
Still a little sticky.
I still had a problem.
Yep.
This did not work.
All of that, and it's been a couple of days since I got this piece done, and I ended up having to get it fixed because I actually put this in the bike, and come to find out, it did not fit because it caused the bearing to be pushed out too much. And so I had to get this cut down by 4 millimeters, and I had to get this cut down by 4 millimeters. You can see where he actually made the cut. And also, something that I was not expecting, the piece did not fit over the axle. So it would get to about right here and it wouldn't fully go. So this had to be hollowed out more. So that cost me another $40 on top of having these made, because I messed up the measurements. So now I'm going to put this all back together and hopefully it will work this time. I'll get my tire, put my rim. Okay. I'm going to try to hammer this thing back in, man. I don't know, man. I got a feeling I'm gonna be off again. Maybe I should have just done 2 millimeters. It's raised up just enough. Get this bearing back in here for the 5th time. Hopefully it seats. That little ring right there, that is probably 1 millimeter right there. So that's the difference. So if I did it 3 mil, it probably would have been right there. So like I said, with it in here now, I'm pretty confident that it's gonna work. And once I start torquing it down, it's gonna torque against that spacer. You can see it's right on that spacer. All right, now the fun begins. I gotta try to get this thing lined up. This is where the pain comes in. Honestly, I hate this bracket. There we go. It's very tight in there, man. And like I said, I think part of the problem is the powder coat. It adds, that powder coat probably on both sides added 0.5 millimeter. And the clearance on this thing is so tight. Booyah. See how it slid straight in there? Well then, somebody's pretty excited to almost be done. Got to put this on, man. It was not budging. So yeah, that axle had to come back out. I just forgot. Easy peasy. All right, I think good to torque it down, man, and see what it do. You should not hear any cracking. Hopefully we don't. Got steel in there. Steel on steel, right? All right, torque down. Believe it or not, I like lying on the ground. Everybody says, Brandon, you need a lift. I'm gonna mention it every time. Guys, I like doing this. Sometimes a lift would help. Yeah, to see stuff better, I guess, but I truly, man, this is my exercise. That's the part that people don't get. I enjoy this stuff. Done. Done. Believe it or not, I'm actually not done. I gotta tuck that back in there. Might have to put a zip tie on it. Oh look, another QR code. How about that? I gotta come in here and connect my ABS cable for actually my wheel speed sensor. Or I guess you could say ABS because it's an ABS wheel speed sensor as it shows up in the diagnostics. And I've replaced my charger battery tender down here, so we should be good on that. I know that works. All right, with the bike on the ground, you might notice that this side panel is off. Some of you might be wondering why. Well, this is the diagnostic support for the bike. This is where Polaris, they hook into the bike. They can, you know, reset the ECM or flash it or do whatever they need to do to make this bike, the electronics on it, do certain things. Well, I've been looking at this because those little wires right there, the yellow and green, that is the CAN bus connection for this bike. I haven't shown you guys this. This is where I tapped into my harness. So I was trying to see why I couldn't get the messages that I was looking for, because ultimately I'm trying to make this screen fit on that engine, Indian Scout. There's a lot of work involved with this, but I can tell you I'm getting some data off this port. We're making good progress, but that's gonna be another video for another day. All right, folks. Another one of those days, man. No jacket. I'm not gonna lie to you. It reduces my barrier to entry as far as filming this stuff, because man, it is hot and we hadn't even reached the peak of summer. But I'll tell you, when I ride like really far away, I put my jacket on because I don't know those roads as much. So what we're gonna do now, man, we're gonna test this thing and hopefully it all works. Like right now I got the fan on behind me because it's so warm in here, but I think we're gonna be fine. All right, no engine code, so that's cool. Alright, let's test that. My ABS light is on, but it'll turn off once I start moving. Alright, let's get it. Well, folks, something major just happened. I am leaking fuel. Apparently my fuel line came loose. I lost power. Wow, that is crazy. I gotta go back and clean this up. I don't know how that happened. Apparently I didn't fully secure it. I dumped fuel all up the highway. Let's see if I can get it back started. That's crazy. I lost my throttle. Nope, still coming out. What the fuck? Is there like a... What the fuck is going on? All this fuel is just shooting out of the bike. Ah, there it is. Bro, that is I gotta go and clean this off. Let's see. Alright, no fuel that time. That's insane. What the? Wow. What the crap. Alright, let me get this thing home, man. We're gonna wash it off and we're gonna try this again. Look at all that fuel. All right, hopefully I can get home without it combusting. Wow. I did not expect that, dude. That line just shot off. Once the pressure built up, I lost my throttle. And I was like, wait, what the hell is going on? But I can tell you that my speed is working, so that's cool. Let's get home and wash this off. When it rains, it freaking pours. I gotta give this thing a good wash anyway. But holy crap, that could have been very bad. I'm gonna check this thing, man. Like it was on, it just wasn't fully clicked. Like there's a audible click that has to happen, and it didn't fully click. And somehow your boy messed that up. I'm pulling it now. Everything feels to be on there now. So we're gonna try this again. I'm just putting like some easy clean on here. I'm just basically trying to get so the fuel doesn't, like, you know, eat up my paint or my powder coat. I'd rather have this sitting on it and baking on it than gas. Bro, this has been a eventful couple of days, weeks trying to get this thing dialed in. As I say, man, stuff just happens. Bro, what the heck? Seriously? Dude, I need to go play the lottery, dude, or something, because there's no freaking way my luck is this bad today. All right, one more thing I have to fix. All right, people, I am so sorry for that mishap. You know, I tend to show you guys everything that's going on. I'm not gonna hide. So yeah, I made a mistake, man. What's funny is I rode around the neighborhood a couple times and that did not happen. So at some point, that fuel line just vibrated off, but I took the tank off because I was messing with some wiring up under there. But you know, it just came off. So luckily we did not set the bike on fire. But you know, fuel, man, it only ignites if there's, like, you know, open like sparks and stuff. So hey, my mother's calling me. Let me see what she wants. What's up, mama?
Where you at?
I'm out riding, testing bike stuff.
Oh, okay. Call me when you get back home. I'll get you with the dog.
Oh, I forgot. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, yeah, mom hit me up. But the bike, man, yeah, I went ahead and cleaned it off, because had I not, that fuel would have just probably it takes time to do it, but if you got fuel like that on stuff, you want to go ahead and get it off. But you know, nothing's leaking, we're good to go. My speed is calculating as it's supposed to, my mileage is calculating as it's supposed to, my ABS light went off. Okay, everything at this point in time is working as it should. Alright. Okay. Gotta go meet mama. But yeah, man, bike ride's great now. Still waiting to get my front wheel back, because the other one, because this bent, had to have it repaired. And it's been about a week. Yeah, a week and a day since they got it. But in the meantime, what I can deal with now is this front brake line, because this just doesn't match anymore. So I have one that's shorter. We're going to deal with that. But luckily I have my speed now. I can see how fast I'm going. That one sensor controls so much. Yeah, man. She is riding good. My ABS light has come back on, but check this out. Cruise. When your wheel speed sensor's working, you also get cruise control. If it's not working, that's not gonna function. But yeah, so my ABS light's acting up. I'm not too worried about it. My speed's still calculating. My cruise control works. I'll figure that out at another time. But right now, we are good. Bike's riding straight down the highway. I think we're good. That lever, man. Gotta do something about that. Still work to do, man. But I'm happy right now. And that's all that matters. Okay. It's been a day, guys. This bike smells like fuel. You know what? That may be me because my pants still have gasoline soaked in them. But yeah, I didn't die. The bike didn't die. The bike didn't blow up. And I think we saw some problems. Still got an ABS light on, but it comes and goes. There's no issue stopping the bike, so whatever. I just let it complain. It basically says like there may be a problem with it back there, but I'd rather have it working than listen to a message. Oh dear God. We got it fixed. And the fundamental problem, man, is that the spacer just wasn't long enough for the wheel speed sensor to contact the bearing. So because of that, the bearing had to sit further into the hub. This hub is not for this bike on these Chieftain wheels. And so I had to make that spacer longer so it pulls the bearing out more towards that wheel speed sensor. And kind of found out the wheel speed sensor wasn't even the problem, the one that was cracked. So it was a matter of allowing the thing to do its job. So we fixed it. Yeah, spilt fuel everywhere. Honestly, man, I made some mistakes, mostly in the measurements of these of this spacer. That's kind of what comes with learning how to fabricate stuff, is that you're gonna make mistakes. But what I should have done in the beginning was take the plastic one that I had, mount it up to the bike, even if it meant putting the bearing in and slightly just not torquing it down, but just seeing if it would fit. And once I did that, that let me know that, okay, I need to go 4 millimeters. Yeah, so I had it made and had it altered, and now we're able to bolt it up and get it done. So the bike rides good, the ABS light is on, but I don't think the ABS is actually malfunctioning. It's just kind of a notification. So the speed works, the mileage works, the cruise control works, and honestly, that's what matters most. The bike rides good, and now I just got to get my wheel back. Well, we still got some work to do with this bike, but now it kind of gives me some time to work on this thing because most of my stuff in here besides the Scout is good to go. So yeah, here's another video for you to watch. As always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Understand that I'm not perfect, but I hope you learned something still from me, I guess, on what not to do. But we got it done, and that's all that matters. Catch you in the next one. Peace.